Yes, we are day 35, I believe. 35, January the 16th, 2024. Oh my goodness, this is going so fast. Oh my goodness. Yesterday was one of my baby girl's birthday. My youngest, I think she's my youngest. No, she's not my youngest goddaughter, but she's one of my goddaughters, one of the younger ones. Um, Little Kennedy, I want to say she's in her 30s now. I have so many godchildren. For someone who has absolutely no biological children and never wanted to have children, I have eons and eons and eons of godchildren. Oh my goodness. I have so many kids and I love every last one of them. So I'm back here today. Yesterday I talked about living in New York, and I want to talk about some of the pros and cons that I experienced, which caused me to, well, not all of them led me, but it was a number of things that led me to leaving New York, not just the relationship that I ended, because I could have very well stayed. I just chose not to. It ended up being the best decision, but there were a few other things. So we're going to get started on those. The first reason why I wanted to be in New York is because of the vast opportunities for whatever it was I wanted to do. Here in my hometown, we were kind of limited. Old Town Lynchburg, Virginia. Yeah. It's not a lot that you can do. And if you had a degree, if you're not tied into or affiliated with one of the founding families, yeah, don't look for it to happen for you too much unless you start your own business, and then you still have to fight for that. But in New York, there was a lot that I could do, and it didn't matter if I knew anybody or not. It was wonderful. The downside was there are way too many options, especially for someone as young as I was going. Um, I ended up not moving until I was in my 30s, but I first thought about moving when I was 19. I wanted to move there. Um, I understood what my mother was saying. It's a good place, but she said, for you, I don't think it's a good place because it's just too much. And you're more of a simple person. You don't like a lot of things that are very complex, although the way I process is complex. And once I went there and I visited there, I was 19, I think 18, 19. I was 19 years old. My first visit to New York by myself, because it was always a family trip. I went by myself to visit friends. And she was right. Being on my own, I saw through a lens, a lot differently than when I was there with family. Because there with family, you have people in your ear who can show you things, but then they also can guide you into what you can or cannot do with those things. But being on your own, when you have no one in your ear, no one else's voice involved in the decisions but your own, is quite different. And it it helped me to realize that my mother was right, especially for my age. Now, when I did move there in my 30s, it was different. She didn't say anything. She really didn't know. I was just there because she knows me. I just call them like, hey, I'm in New York, or I'm on my way to New York, or whatever like that. But yeah, when she found out about it, I was either on my way or I was already there. The second thing was I loved, there's so much for entertainment. And I come from two musical families. And the fact that I could just boom, at the drop of a hat, go to an opera, or boom, at the drop of a hat, go to hear a symphony, or boom, at the drop of a hat, go see a Broadway play or something like that. I loved that stuff. Concerts, they all right, but I'm not really into those a lot. I love different things, and I love plays. I love Broadway. Those are the things I really love. I really love those, and there was always something to do. I loved going up to West Point, especially at night, and just sit down on that big open field and look at the stars because it looked like they were right there on you. Here further south, it looked like everything's further away, but further up north in New York, in that area, it just looked like there was a big blanket and it was coming down on you. And I loved how that just looked and made me feel. Now, the downside part of that was having the money to do all of that, which I made pretty good money. And the guy that I dated at the time, he didn't like me spending my own money. He always said, no, save your money. You may need it for something. So whatever I wanted to do, or if his son and me wanted to do something together, he always paid for it. Although I took my money anyway, just in case for something extra. But he didn't like me spending my money, which was good. But I didn't like that because I'm a very independent person. Now, the thing that I liked about him is he never held that over my head. Even if we had a disagreement, he never, ever, ever once said, I did this for you, I do this for you. That never came out of his mouth. That I can say. He was a pretty good guy. It's just he was afraid of my growth and how fast I was growing, and it bothered him. And so that's the reason why I had to let him go. But that was one of the cons of not having, well, I did have enough, but it cost so much. I would have to work extra to keep up with the way I wanted to go to these plays and listen to these poets. And I just love stuff like that. I just always have been. The last thing was independence on a fast track. Like, seriously, on a fast track. If somebody was to pick you up, they tired of your butt because they tired of you mooching, and they took you to New York and they dropped you off, you're going to make it or you're not going to make it. That's what I like about New York. Independence. Your independence is on a fast track. Now, there are some pros and cons with that. What I liked about it is you're able to be more creative with your independence. There's so much to do. There's so many different options. For some of us, way too many options. Some people don't deal with a lot of options too well. Some of us do. I like to categorize all my options. That's my Virgo moon. I can't help it. I categorize a lot of things. As you can tell, I categorize my friends in another video. But yeah, it helped me to, so I had already thought in my head, if he and I don't make it, this is where I can go to live, this is where I can go to work, I can be somewhere closer between my family and my friends, and that's that. Yeah. Now, on the downside of that, the downside of independence on fast track still, but there's no time to think. There's no time to think of, okay, so New York moves really, really fast. I mean, it's ever going, even through the wee hours of the night. It's just consistently going. And where I was born and raised is very slow. It's a lot more simpler. Stores close at a certain time of the night, whereas in New York, the mall is open 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. They don't shut down. And where I come from, everything shuts down pretty early, you know? So you have plenty of time to think and to plan. In New York, you have to think on a fast pace. And if you're not accustomed to that, it can wear you down. It can wear you down. It can be very exhausting, which is why I really appreciated that we did not live in the city. We lived maybe like 45 minutes to an hour from the city, and it was in an area more like what I'm accustomed to. And so I really appreciated it, and that helped. That helped a lot. Not living in the city, we didn't even live near the city. So whenever we wanted to go to the city to do some things there, we did. We would, we went there once, sometimes twice a month, mostly once. But yeah, it wasn't that often we went because you can do stuff everywhere. And you're not that far from New Jersey. Well, from the area where we lived at. I think from East Orange, it was maybe like a 40-minute drive. So, yeah. So, there was plenty to do. And it just depends on you, how you can keep up with the pace. Because, like I said, it's a very fast pace. Some people can make it on their own there. Some people, you would need like a buddy, a buddy who is good at, like, hey, when I'm down, you're up, and when you're down, I'm up, and you can kind of piggyback off of each other's energy that way. Because other than that, it can be overwhelming. It can be, but I loved it. I did. I loved every moment of it. You know, be it with the cons, I loved it. If I had the chance to do it all over again at the age I was, I may have thought about staying. I may have moved to a totally different area where he was not. Um, but, and that's just in thinking. I still do not regret coming back home to Virginia because I like it. I like Virginia. There's nothing wrong with Virginia. I like different areas of Virginia, but yeah.